Originally live streamed via StreamYard on September 23, 2024. The support our #Creatives podcast, hosted by Allan Greenstein. Special guest is Temese Chavis, actress, filmmaker, playwright, and entrepreneur. She is the founder of Becute Multimedia and Productions Incorporated and creator of Confessions. Confessions follows Alana Daniels, the founder of a matchmaking company for Black love, and her group of friends as they navigate through their relationships, friendships, and confront issues about who they are and what they really want. Synopsis from Becute website. This is a recording of a live broadcast, so expect some imperfections during the show. There was some editing performed on the original recording. Enjoy the show.
Okay. Hello.
Originally live streamed via StreamYard on September 23, 2024. The support our #Creatives podcast, hosted by Allan Greenstein.
Acting, and I basically
Yeah.
am the founder
Of the Bella Levy Foundation. Okay. Hello, everybody. Here we are. It's the Sabora #Creatives podcast. I'm Allan Greenstein. I'm the founder of Supporter #Creatives, and let me briefly introduce myself. So Supporter #Creatives, the goal of this organization is to level the playing field for underrepresented creators and artists so that they have the same opportunities as everybody else to get their works created, distributed, and seen. I'm also on the board of directors of the Bella Levy Foundation. The goal of the Bella Levy Foundation is to fight human trafficking and provide a safe, haven for its warriors. So once again, hello everybody. I'm so happy to have our guest tonight, Temese Chavis, founder of Becute Multimedia and Productions Incorporated. So welcome, Temese, and why don't you briefly introduce yourself?
My name is Temese, as Allan said, and I am the founder of Becute. As Allan said, I now have a show called Confessions. I was off Broadway for 2 years. And we also just finished shooting the pilot for Confessions. I live in New York, and I'm an actress, a writer, producer, and I just enjoy living in New York, and I have enjoyed doing Confessions.
Yeah, we'll be talking about the two different mediums that you have Confessions in. You know, the live theater version of Confessions and the TV pilot that's coming up. So, tell us how you got into this career that you have in entertainment.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I have been in entertainment for a little over 20 years. I started when I was in 11th grade. Like, I just one day woke up, as weird as it is, and I was like, oh, I want to be on TV. Initially, when I was like 10, I was like, I was listening to a radio disc jockey in the car with my mom, and I was like, oh my God, this seems so fun. And I never pursued it or told my mom or anything, but by the time I got to the 11th grade, I became extremely interested in it. And then when I turned 18, I was old enough to get into acting, and I basically started pursuing it on my own. So I went to American Conservatory Theater, and I studied in San Francisco for a little while, where I'm from, the Bay Area. And then eventually I went away to college, and I majored in mass communications and minored in theater in the college that I went to. When I graduated, I wanted to get a master's in film, so I moved to New York. And then I ended up going to NYU, studying film in NYU, and then continued my studies. But while I was there, I went to Stella Adler, I went to Meisner, and I just continued to study. And ironically, I started working in the movie industry. I got a job as a PA when I first got here, when I was in grad school. And so I just continued to work in the movie industry. I interned everywhere, and then I worked in all facets of it while I was studying filmmaking. And so that's how long I've been into the industry and working as an actress in production, writing, anything I could get my hands on.
Oh, that's amazing! Really,
Yeah.
and I'm impressed with the whole different training that you also have had.
Yeah.
You mentioned Meisner and all that, so that's fantastic. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you find that New York is a better place to be if you want to get this kind of training?
I mean, I think so. Like, I lived in LA for a little while, and LA is definitely, I would say, like Hollywood, in the sense that you go out there, you just audition and you try to get there. Not to say that they don't have any training. I do believe that they do, but not like New York. Like New York, I feel like this is theatrical training. And nothing prepares you like theater. Just theater is just something of its own. And because some of the greats came out of New York, and the culture of New York and the art, the art culture, it's a different world. And so for me, I do believe New York is one of the best places to study. And if I were to suggest to anyone to move and study, I would definitely tell them to study in New York, at least for a year or two.
Yeah, fantastic.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you have your organization called Becute, And
Yeah.
tell us about that, how and why you started it, and and all the details about stuff like that.
Well, so I started BQ initially. I came here to be an actress, and the reason why I went to film school because I thought maybe if I study filmmaking, I can write myself in my own pictures in case someone doesn't hire me. That was my thought process, and then I was thinking to myself, though, if I don't make it in this business, nobody's gonna look at my resume and say she went to uh theater school. She went to college and got a BA in theater, and then she tried to get a master's in theater. Who's gonna hire me there, right? So I thought maybe if this doesn't work out, I can work as a producer. That's a little bit more sustainable. Um, so I really, really went towards I was auditioning, working a lot. I didn't find a lot of roles, especially 20 years ago, I would say a little over 18 years ago, for a younger black woman in New York. There just wasn't a lot of roles. And so I kind of got fed up with that, and I knew I had some writing experience and some producing experience. So that same thought process that I had uh, 20 years ago, 10 years after that, or maybe 15 years after that, I just said, let me start my own production company and I can write roles for people who look like me, ideas that I would want to play in. And so that was initially why, just because I wanted to give myself and other actors an opportunity.
That Yeah, that's exactly right. You may have heard the expression, if you want to get it done, you have to do it yourself.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so that definitely was a great path to take. So, what kind of services does Becute offer? To besides maybe producing films and stuff like that. Are there any other kinds of services that it offers?
Yes. So what I like to do for other people, for it, especially for people who have not gone into production ever and they don't know anything about the business. There's a lot of consulting that I will do that I can offer you. You want to produce your own projects and you don't know how to do it. I will consult, offer location search, teach you how to location search. Um, uh, what are some of the other things that we do just off the top of my head? um Casting, opportunities, teach you how to cast. It's mostly consulting right now. And then I have worked for or with or for rather other people who need rewrites on their projects. They want to produce projects and again they don't know how. And just even with like admin stuff and pulling everything together, that's something that I offer.
Oh, it's like a full service company. That's great. So,
Mhm,
yeah.
mhm.
So, for those of you who are watching and it has audio only, um, it's bcute.tv is the URL of the website, Becute Multimedia and Productions Incorporated, and it has all the details about all the services that are being offered there.
Yes.
Got
Oh,
it.
also
Okay.
in theater for new because I produced and I can't believe it slipped my mind and this is something new. Is that there are a lot of writers and directors that don't know how to produce their own theatrical projects or
Ooh.
even get grants for their own theater projects. And believe it or not, or even holding festivals where you can gather other writers together and an audience and sell tickets and people will come out. And I don't think there's enough information out there about how you can get your own theatrical project. People think that maybe just Broadway, and it's really, really difficult. But it's actually, I would say, a little bit easier to do theater than it would be to try to shoot film, and it's more cost effective. A lot of people don't know how to get residencies, so that's another thing that we consult to teach you how to get residencies.
Oh, fantastic. I think that there's the equivalent of an indie live theater community.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you tend to concentrate on that when you bring the newcomers into the if they want to be in part of the theater.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, like when you're doing a theater, um, when you're doing a live performance, you may not know who to hire, how to get people. A lot of the times you can have a skeleton crew. You just really need like a tech person, a production manager, and a director. Um, and you can do 10-minute live performance to get your stuff out there. And there's a lot of theaters that will host your performance for free, essentially. And so a lot of people don't know about those residencies and those grants, and these are consultant. Um, these are things that we like to offer,
Okay.
information that we can offer through our consulting.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Okay. Okay. So we're gonna break for a brief commercial, and we'll be right back. I'm Allan Greenstein, founder and producer at Support Our Creatives. At Support Our Creatives, I offer a number of services to support those developing a project. Check out the services tab of my website at supportourcreatives.com. If you are interested, please use the contact tab on my website or email me directly at allan@supportourcreatives.com. Okay, and we are back. Hi, Elaine. I see that. Thanks for watching. Yeah, Elaine. She lives in the area where I live in Maryland, and we're good friends. And appreciate Elaine, appreciate you joining in. Okay. So let's start talking about Confessions.
Yes.
That is the live theater version of Confessions first.
Yes.
So yeah, so let's talk about that. Tell us a story about it. How did how did you conceive it, and how did you get to the point where you had it on stage?
Oh, I love this question. This is my favorite question. Because this is a crazy journey. So I started Confessions, believe it or not, in 2014 as a web series, 6 minutes only. Um, I was going to Digital Film Academy in New York. And the reason why is because when I went to NYU, we were using like 16 millimeter cameras and 35 millimeter cameras. We were not digital. And so when I stopped working behind the scenes, I didn't know what cameras they were using. I didn't know about the digital industry. I didn't know about the new technology, and I just needed to update myself. So I went to Digital Film Academy and updated my information on what the new technologies were in 2014. And I had a class, and we had a class on web series, and that's when web series were big, really, really big. And for class, I wrote a 6 minute. I had to come up with an idea, which initially was Confessions, but it was a very different show then. Same storyline, but different show. And I had to shoot it, and show it for class. And so initially it was 5 minutes, and I stopped. I just, after the class was over, we never ended up shooting it. I kind of pitched it to my teacher, and then 3 years later, which was in 2017, when I decided to start Becute Multimedia, I didn't know what I was going to start working on, what was going to be my first project, how was I going to offer services, and I remembered that I'd been working on that web series, and I still wanted to work on it as a web series, but I didn't really have all the information that I needed. So I sort of got a little discouraged in 2017. I was working on it a little bit. I started writing other scripts, in 2020 or 19, right before COVID, I wanted to attach a podcast to Confessions. And so I started the podcast a little bit before that. I just started working on the podcast. I didn't know what I was doing or how I was going to work it in. And then lo and behold, COVID hit. So
Yeah.
when COVID hit, I had nothing to do. I was tired of taking acting classes online, tired of taking it, the podcast. I didn't really have the instruction manual to really do the podcast. So I started working on the TV show again. And this time it had become a TV show. It was an episodic 30 minutes. So I wrote 4 episodes, and then a couple months later, Clubhouse hit. And
Clubhouse.
in
Yes.
Clubhouse, there were writers' rooms. And I was like, how am I going to write episode after episode and not get discouraged and continue? And so there were accountability writing classes and through Clubhouse. And I met another writer on there. I'd already written maybe 4 or 5 episodes, and she was an inspiring writer at the time, and I was pitching my idea to her, and she said I loved it. We developed a writing room during COVID, and we worked on it. And then, unfortunately, my mother got sick with cancer, and I needed something to do while I sat in the hospital with her all day. So I would go to the writer's room, brainstorm at night, and then I would finish the show while I was in the hospital. And a month later, when my mom unfortunately passed away, I really just felt like it was my tribute to her to finish it. So I finished it. And I said, now I have 10 episodes. And what am I going to do with this? How do I get the money to shoot this? What am I going to do? I was having meetings with producers. Everybody was like, you just need to shoot it so we can see it. Nobody is going to want to read this, have a sizzle reel if you're going to do this. Said, oh God. So then I learned about crowdfunding through Tamika Briscoe. And I was like, oh, she sort of inspired me. Let me continue to crowdfund, and we crowdfunded, and we shot the sizzle reel. Unfortunately, when we shot the sizzle reel, it didn't come out the way that I thought. There were a lot of hiccups during that process, and in the course of me re-editing it, because I was just I was so hurt and discouraged because it just didn't come out the way I wanted it to. And it spent all that money. I was like, oh God, so many people invested. What are we gonna do? I was applying for grants. We applied over 300 grants while I was doing the sizzle reel. And my assistant found a residency grant. She said, let's just see. TV theater. We applied for it, and they gave me a grant to turn it into a live performance. But it was, we submitted the TV pilot. And they sent me an email. They said, if you want this grant, you have 2 weeks to tell us what you want to do. The show will be in March. You can have our venue for free. And I said, what am I going to do with a TV pilot on stage? I said, I got to turn it into I'd never written a stage play before in my life. I didn't even know what to do. So I had 2 weeks. I said, let me turn it into a live performance. I called the cast that was previously on it, and I said, would you guys do theater? And they were like, we would love to do this in theater. I had no idea how I was going to turn it into a play. And I wrote it in 2 weeks. I started working on it a little bit with and I'll shout her name out, Donita Spencer. With her a little bit to turn it into a theater play, but we were like 2 people that had never written theater before. We were like, what are we gonna do? And there's gonna be people coming out to see this, like, this is it. So we brainstormed, and then I ended up writing it, and the first draft was terrible. I had done the code read, and I said, "Oh my God, we're gonna perform this in 3 months." I rewrote it again, and then it turned out great. I had to hire a director on the fly. I only had $1,000, no money. I said everybody else I can pay them with the ticket sales. Everybody jumped on board, and lo and behold, we had a sold out show, and it was a huge hit. Never did I think that it was going to be a hit. They loved it. And with that residency, because it did so well, I got another residency 6 months later to do another live performance for 7 nights for a 2-week run, basically. And we had a little bit bigger budget. More people became interested, and so we ended up canceling one show, so we did a 2-week run with our 6 shows, I think. And when the show was over, and then I rewrote it, I enhanced it a little bit. The ensemble cast was 13. The first one was 9, and then it was 13, and everybody loved it. And then and it was a big hit as a play. Like, people said we should go on tour and everything. And if it were a bigger budget, it would have been amazing. Then I decided I said, you know what, we've got to pitch the pilot. I'll back up a little bit. I met a guy who is an amazing guy. He was editing at a cafe that I normally work at. And I asked him, I said, "Are you a cinematographer or editor? And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, I need a cinematographer, a videographer for my show to capture it. Would you have availability? So we talked, and I liked his work. He ended up shooting it, and he said, "I love your show." And I asked him, I said, "Would you be willing to come on board to help me shoot this as a pilot so we can pitch it to networks?" And he was almost the best thing. Jordan Baptiste, who is now a great partner of mine, as a producer, as a director, as an editor. And we just, our energy just aligned, and we shot the TV pilot. Well, I'll back up. I know I'm moving forward, but that's how the play went on. So that's how we got the play.
Yeah. Well, you definitely had another example of great pivoting that often has to happen in order on your path to success. Because I didn't realize that your original intention was to have it as a what I call a film media, use film media. But then it turned out you end up going the live theater route, which is really something.
Yes.
And so you mentioned Tamika Briscoe. Of course, I know Tamika. I joined Clubhouse because she recommended it to me. And,
oh wow!
Yeah. I already knew her, but she recommended Clubhouse, and so I joined it, and that was, in a sense, the genesis of my podcast. That's where I started out on Clubhouse.
Oh, so, wow!
Yeah.
And that's how I met you. Well, you probably don't remember meeting me, but that's how I became knowledgeable, or I became aware of who you were through Clubhouse.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Tamika's room when she was doing it.
Yes.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Clubhouse came along at just the right time. The pandemic, when people could not get together in person. So what Clubhouse did, it allowed people to get together virtually in what they call rooms. And some rooms were big, some rooms were small, but people with like-minded ideas, just like you said, being a writer or an actor, whatever it is, you took advantage of that, and that's what people did at that time. Yeah. So anyway, so I wanted to bring that up. Okay, so let's see. So I think are you ready to transition over to the next step, which is the revival of going to film media.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. But I think before we start, I think what I'd like to do is show the sizzle reel that you sent me recently.
Okay.
And yeah, so let me I gotta click some buttons here, so bear with me for a moment.
Welcome to another episode of Ain't No Love Lost, where there is never no love lost in relationships. There are only lessons. And today's topic, Black love. Listen, I'm from New York. I'm from Harlem. And this community, it taught me everything I need to know about love and taking responsibility. Love means being brave and never letting an opportunity pass you by.
Look who our new client is.
I have also learned about loss. It also means loving our friends and our family who are there through it all. Sometimes love can seem like it's just the beginning. And what about this talk of a high value man?
He looked like he got money. Amber, one of them is married. It doesn't matter, it just costs you more if you're married.
Black love isn't just romantic love, but love for our communities, our family, our friends. I'm Alana Daniels, and I'm out. Come back, because Black love lives here.
Okay, so were you able to hear that? Okay, I hope.
Yes.
Good. So you are Alana. Yes. Okay, so as I said, so what made you decide to once again proceed with the film version of this Confessions?
That's a good question. Like the play was great. But initially my heart was always to make it a TV show, and the theatrical show, in order for me to get it to the next level, I really needed a bigger audience. The marketing is a little bit challenging. You have to put dollars into the marketing to bring a lot of people out, right? And consistently have a show. And so for me, I just wanted to put it back to a TV show. And honestly, my goal now is, and this was never my goal in the beginning, is to have it as a multimedia actual project. Like, so now in 2020, like I said, I did the podcast, the real podcast of Ain't No Love Lost. And because it was very difficult for me to do everything at once. We didn't have a season 2, but I wanted to show that we could have a real live version of the podcast, the TV pilot, and then the actual stage play. I feel that I can do with the right amount of investment simultaneously. So I know that we had already filmed the play. We had already done the sizzle reel. I needed more content to do the pilot. And I can take all of these things and pitch it over to either network, an investor, preferably an investor to say, I can see how this is can do both. So that's why I initially wanted to go back over to the pilot, because I want to show that this project can be done in multiple mediums simultaneously.
Oh, that's quite a challenge. You're doing
I
both
know.
at the same time.
I'm always over challenging myself.
Well, that's okay. That's really. I mean, it's I love the process, and here we have you were trying to get this the film version out, and but still as I said, multimedia and all that. That's really something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so what did you have? What had to change, let's say, between having it as a live theater production versus having it something that's recorded, a film, what I call a film version?
As far as what do you mean?
Well, in terms of the the technical aspects, the technical differences of putting on live theater versus producing something that's being recorded.
From the acting perspective, or producing, or writing, because it's different in both, and I could explain all three.
Yeah. Well, why don't we start with the producing aspect of it?
Oh, the producing aspect. So for me, the producing aspect is almost similar. To be honest, it's really almost similar. The only difference is, so when you're doing the live performances and you're finding the venue, that's the only location that you're going to use. So once you have a date set and the venue, then you're there. But then comes the rehearsals. So the bulk of your budget goes into the rehearsals, and not the actual shooting, right? You're spending money on the rehearsal hours, the time, however many weeks you need to rehearse prior. I think we had 22 rehearsals spaced out prior to our live performances. And just because we didn't have a budget, sometimes they do those 22 or 23 rehearsals within like a 3 or 4 week span. We did ours within like a 3-month span because we could only rehearse on the weekend. So that's kind of like the difference with that. As far as production and the hiring and with the skeleton crew, you need set designer, hire a really good set designer, which is very different. You're gonna do that on a film set, but some of that stuff you can kind of work with people if you're gonna. I mean, and this is for independent, right?
Yeah.
You really need tech and lighting, sound, tech design and sound and lighting design and sound design. You really need to hire that person. A theater director, and a production manager is going to be essential for that. You don't fully need a whole crew. So for me, the hiring process was a little bit different. People in theater, a lot of stuff, there's a lot of nonprofit organizations that love to give you things for your set, and they have a lot of props and different things like that, so it's easier when it comes to that, versus the cost, which is always finances from a producer standpoint, with like a film or TV project. The bulk of our budget always goes to crew and locations. I mean, that will eat your pockets up. The locations, if you need the insurance and camera equipment rentals, those things are costly. And so I think that's the difference. From an acting perspective, me being an actress, I can jump in and out of producer, in and out with the producer hat, kind of when I'm on set a little bit more, not really. When you're on a film or TV set, because you're cut. So if you miss a line or you need to reshoot, you can reshoot. Theater, once you go on stage, that's it.
Yep.
I can only be Alana on the night of the performances and in tech rehearsal. I don't have the luxury of trying to produce and be Alana on set. It will never work. So you really got to try to trust your team when you're in theater. I mean, always, you really need to always trust your team anyway, but you really have to just trust that whatever happens when you're live, it just happens. From a writing standpoint, what I've learned is it's all well, a lot, I'm sure a lot of people understand this, but from a writing perspective, it's tell, not show. So you're telling everything with your words and the emotions and the subtext, and all that means something. So like, I'll just give you a quick example. The pilot is 10 episodes, so you have time to follow the characters throughout the whole season. You only have an hour and a half in a theater performance, so you have to condense everything. So your arc has to be in the second act so they can really get to it. So, your climax has to come quick in your third act, your introduction in the first act. So you really got to compact everything, and you have to tell a lot. And there has to be a lot of subtext. So, and then you have to find a way to show all the things that you need to show from theater. So, like, I'll give you an example. Alana dates a lot in the TV show. And in order to show her dating a lot, we have to show her on a speed date in Act 1 and the different characters that she interacts with. So you really have to be creative about how you show and tell the story. And as you know, from a writing perspective, you need to show, not tell. And you don't want to hit everybody over the head when you're in TV. So a lot of that has to be in the details, in the locations, in your expressions as an actor, in the props and what you see them doing. So that's really really the difference in all of them in a short in articulating this in a really short
Yeah.
span.
I appreciate that, that there are some significant differences that you have to take into account.
Yeah,
Especially the timing element, like you said,
it's a very different medium.
you have to have the whole story and everything, quick character development in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
While in a multi-episode series like you're planning to do, you have time to actually develop the different characters and
You could
get the
have 5
situations.
seasons
Yeah,
if you
that's
can
right.
continue to write. I mean,
Exactly.
you can go on and on and on and take these characters through so many different storylines, and like even 1 through 5, like are the climax. The buildup can start to happen in episode 5, and you can just kind of follow them, throughout, depending on how many episodes that you have. So I think that's the difference. And you really have time to do character development with TV.
Yeah.
A lot of time, which is why I love television, because you can take these people to so many different places and you don't have to rush. You don't have to rush it, and you can figure out who they are. And the one wonderful thing that I love about this show is that I've spent so much time with it. I know everybody like they were family members as far as the characters are concerned. Like, I know them so well. That I don't even think I could sell it to distribution because no one would know them like me. Because I've spent 10 years with these people, these characters.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I want to give a shout out to Crystal Starnes, who is tuned in. Crystal
Hi,
Starnes,
Crystal.
As I said, she has the Voice for Victims podcast, which she uses that. People will have difficult situations in their lives, so she has them on so they can tell their story. So I think it's great. The great thing what Crystal does. So and Crystal and I, we work together and we're always bouncing ideas with each other. So hi, Crystal, and okay. So in the theater version versus the let's say the pilot, was there a lot of cast change, or some of the people who were in the theater production also going to be in the pilot?
No. The wonderful thing about this show is that the same people that were in the sizzle were in the stage play, that were in the pilot. So I really wanted a cast that had chemistry. And I think the one thing is, from us working off Broadway for 2 years, we really got, and spending so much time in rehearsal, we really, 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 really got a chance to spend time together and build that chemistry. So I didn't want to recast. I don't want to recast. Like, I feel like these are the people on stage and in TV.
Yeah. Okay. What are your plans for sponsorships and fundraising?
So we've fundraised twice already. And it's really difficult. So shout out to Tamika. Like, oh my God, it's so difficult. You have no idea how difficult it is. You have an idea how difficult it is, but it's so difficult. So shout out to her and anybody else that's like fundraised. I personally don't love it. And so my goal of what I would say fundraising as far as from the aspect of crowdfunding. That's something I'm hoping to put on the back burner for now. And so the goal was to build this content. So we have this as a reel. We have the pilot. We're going to do a trailer for the pilot. We have the theatrical project, and then we'll cut it down into clips. I have enough content now to show this idea to an investor and say, is this something that you would be interested in? And that's been the goal for the last 3 years, going in and out of production, in and out of production. So really it's to find private investors. And I've talked about this a lot. Me personally, I don't want a distribution deal, because I don't want my intellectual property changed, because the point of this show for me is impact over income. And I want to be impactful, one, to the Black community. I want to be impactful to other people outside of that particular community so that they can see what's happening, right? Through comedy and laughter. So it's not just for the Black community, but it's for everyone to see, listen, these are the things that we're plagued with. And I want to be able to come up with a resolve. And so my show has a resolve. And if I sell it, I don't know what they're going to put out there. It could be strictly entertainment. So no one can tell this story like me, because a part of it is my story. And it's very difficult to sell something to someone else and it become the same thing. So for me, I just really want a private investor, particularly someone who sees that this can make money, but also who wants to get in from the ground up. And it's not about money, but people want an ROI, right? So I don't want to remove that from my mind. We need funds to keep going. So a private investor will want some kind of return. And so they're going to have to really believe in the project and say, this could really be something and it can make some money back. And then I'll have more money to invest in more projects. And that's the idea. So I don't want to just grace over that, right? I don't just want to go over that and say that it's not about that, because really for an investor it is. I want them to see that this is a project that will gain an audience, that will gain traction, and there are people who are interested in watching this kind of content. There are people that can relate to this content, and then there are people who maybe can't relate to it but are in love, that is in love with Harlem, that understand that this is my love letter to Harlem, that this is my love letter maybe to the Black community, that this is my love letter to love and relationships. So I want them to be as emotionally invested in it because they love the project and they can see it can make money both. And they can see that there is a vision and they trust that I have that vision and I can execute that. So to wrap it up, I really would love to have a private investor, particularly someone who cares about independent projects and cares about getting to the next level, and really isn't interested in really being a part of this.
Yeah,
that was a lot, Allan. I'm sorry.
That's fine. I mean, this is a great pitch for it. You've indicated exactly what your plans are, and why you're doing it, how you're doing it. It's perfect. Yeah, I like the what you call the love letter to Harlem.
Yes, I got that actually from Shakisha.
Yeah. I mean, for example, that's something that you can actually put a quote on the screen, and make attraction and stuff like that. That's cool. Yeah, right. And I just wanted to say that I'm an associate producer on for the pilot.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. So, what is your what is your favorite role? You know, behind the scenes, writing, directing, acting. You have all the multi-hyphenate. So what is your favorite?
So honestly, my favorite role is acting, but it's been a little bit more difficult for me to fully embody everything that I need to embody because I'm learning how to not wear multiple hats at the same time because sometimes it does not help you when you're on set.
Yeah.
So for me, like when I was on stage, I loved it. I loved it. I loved every night. It's a rush. I love it. But I also equally love producing because I
Mm.
get to produce even when I'm not on set. I'm producing every day. Um, so it's like even with this 3-year one run in in different mediums, I haven't stopped working as a producer, even when I'm in pre-production or development. So for me, that is it's a very rewarding position to be in, even if you're not fully making the money that you want to make. Putting something together from inception to manifestation is rewarding, and that's a producer's job. So, that for me is is where my heart is. I also love I like I like the writing, but I love the writing room, if
Oh,
that makes sense.
yeah.
So with TV plays, not so much. You can have a writing room, but most of the time when I normally have co-writers help me. I love during the play. I had a lot of interns come on and help in the writing aspects when we were doing the play. But when I was in the writing room, specifically with Darnita Spencer, I loved it. I love that brainstorming process. Like I can stay in a writing room for 4 hours. And you don't even really write during that process. You're just with a board and you're just jotting down ideas. And it is the most creative thing you can do. And so for season 2, I can't wait to go back and I'm just hoping and yearning for a budget where I can just bring on 2 or 3 writers and then we can just sit in a writing room during the developmental stage and just brainstorm. That
Nice.
to me is great and it's wonderful. And another thing that I think is excellent about a writing room is this is that you have an idea and you write it and you bring another writer on board who doesn't know it, but they fall in love with the characters. And then when you tell them to write a scene and they write the scene and then the scene stays and they get to see their scene. And I remember we had an intern who I loved and adored too. One was Thea Schwartz and Evan. And Evan got to write a scene. He asked me if he could write a scene. We needed to add a scene while we were in rehearsal in theater. And normally that doesn't happen, but we needed to add it to make sense. And he did. And watching him watch his scene, just because he was so engulfed in the characters by that time, it was wonderful. So that's what, so all 3.
Yeah.
Long story short, all 3. But if I had to go in order, that's the order.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate you giving the detail on the different aspects of multi hyphenate.
Yes.
And I think it's so great the way you said it. You love the writers' room. That's like the collaboration, everything. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we're going to take another commercial break, and we'll be right back. I'm Allan Greenstein, founder and producer at Support Our Hashtag Creatives. If you make something, albeit make a movie, start a business, write a book, make a physical product, run a nonprofit, promote people, are a songwriter, etc., You too are a creative, and I would love to have you be a guest on the Support Our Creatives podcast. If you want to be featured on this podcast, please use the contact tab on my website at supportourcreatives.com or email me directly at allan@supportourcreatives.com. Okay, and we're back. So we're getting pretty close to wrapping it up. It's been a great show. Let's see. It looks like that. This Confessions is really taken up. Is really a big project for you, and it's a long term. I was going to ask if you have any plans for other projects, but it's
I do.
But you even with all that you do. Okay, good. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
I do. I just came up on some things that I'm studying now. Is right now in development. So I don't want to say too much about it, but it's another show, different concept, but I'm really infatuated with the war on drugs and what that did specifically in the 80s to the Black community and how it tore the Black community up. And so my next project will be centered around that.
Oh, okay. Very good. Okay, so what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is please follow me on Instagram. You can direct message me. Come to the website. Our email address is on the website. You can reach us at hello@becute.tv. We respond immediately.
Okay. Yeah, and once again, I'm going to post the this is the link to the website, becute.tv, and from there you can once again you'll be able to get in touch with Temese and learn all about the stuff that she's doing. Okay, this is great. Okay, so with that, once again, thank you, Temese, for being on.
May I just say something to you really quick, Allan? I just want to say thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I really, really enjoyed speaking with you and all the time that we've gotten to know each other. And I just also want to thank you for being an associate producer on the project. And I just can't wait for future endeavors with us.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I like to, give people a voice in entertainment. I just say creatives in general, even if you're not in entertainment, that's what we like to have on here. And I mean, I know I've learned a lot tonight about the type doing something in two different mediums, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I hope that people who have tuned in have also learned a lot.
Yes.
So, so with that, I'd like to let people know that. This episode will ultimately be ending up on Spotify and all your other favorite streaming places. So it'll be there, and let people know, because we couldn't catch the live broadcast. That we're going to be going that route, and yeah, and also once again, as I said, go to Spotify to look at to watch my future episodes and past episodes. So I hope that you go there. Just go to Spotify and just search for Support Our Creatives, and with a little hashtag symbol there, and it'll pop right up. I really appreciate it if you go out there and watch. So with that, once again, thank you, Temese, and I'm going to say good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thank you, Allan.
Here's a message about Crystal Starnes, advocate for victims, and podcaster.
Are you an entrepreneur, actor, music artist, or someone trying to make a difference in the community, or have a story that can help someone suffering in silence? If your answer is yes, then you need to check out Crystal Starnes' various podcast shows that she produces and hosts. Come on one of her shows and make a difference. Promote your business on her platforms. Ask her about package deals to get your brand more noticed. Want a commercial about your business done by her voice? She also offers package deals for that service. You can find her at crystalstarnshow.com and voiceforvictimsradio.com. Also, if you want access to all her podcast shows and blogs, join her community awareness page for just $4.99 a month. That's right, just $4.99 a month. Then you would have access at a click of a button to her various platforms. Crystal Starnes is trying to make a difference for all people in the world. She wants to help as many people as she can so no one is suffering in silence. Anyone who has a vision and wants to achieve their dream, she has the passion to help promote you to get you to the next level of success.
Episode credits. Main interview portion, originally live streamed and recorded.